Hey there folks, today we're going to be looking at how we write strong paragraphs. So watch along, take notes, and let's go. So last week I had you take a little survey at the end of the pre-writing activity number 1 where I asked you to consider your strengths and your weaknesses as writers. And a very common recurrence of answers were people saying they struggled with introductions and conclusions and working in evidence. Now, today specifically, we're going to be talking about working in evidence and writing paragraphs in general. We'll get to introductions and conclusions later. So, paragraphs. What is the purpose of a paragraph in an essay? We all know that we have to write them, but maybe you haven't really thought about why they exist. What is their purpose? Well, it's where we make one of the points alluded to in our thesis statement. So last week we worked on the thesis statements for our essays. And in each paragraph, we are going to make one of the points. Now, it's very important that we focus on where we're going to make one point alluded to in a thesis statement. So remember, your thesis statement would have had a couple examples of evidence in it. For a single paragraph, you're going to work on one of those examples of evidence. So let's say your thesis statement has 3 examples of evidence. Well, it stands to reason then that you are going to have 3 body paragraphs. Maybe a little bit more if you decide one of those pieces needs a couple paragraphs, but you're never going to work multiple pieces of evidence into the same paragraph because that will be confusing for your reader and it can be confusing for you as a writer. Now, all body paragraphs should include a reference to the thesis statement in some way, shape, or form, and evidence, which in most cases is going to be quotes from the text, to support the claim that you are making. Of course, the claim is what your thesis statement is, right? That is your claim for the essay, your argument for the essay. So let's talk about a good technique for doing just that. Step 1, we want to write what's called a topic sentence. A topic sentence, if we think about what it means, it's pretty self-explanatory. A topic sentence is going to tell the reader what the specific topic of a paragraph is going to be. And remember, each paragraph should only have one topic, right? So topic sentence tells us the topic of the paragraph. Makes sense, right? So here's an example topic sentence. In American-Born Chinese, Jean Yang uses the symbol of a transformer toy to foreshadow the recurring motif of transformation in the novel. So this tells us that this paragraph is going to be about the transformer toy being a tool of foreshadowing, right? So it makes sense then that the rest of the paragraph is going to focus solely on that. Step 2, we want to add evidence. Now, this was a step that a lot of people mentioned that they really struggle with when it comes to writing essays. Well, we're going to try and work on it using what's called the ICE method. The ICE method is a really easy way to smoothly add evidence into any paragraph that we write. So the ICE method stands for I is introduce, C is cite, and E is explain. So let's go through and take a look at what it would look like. So introduce first. We want to introduce the quote or the evidence using an introductory phrase. So what we really want to do is make the quote or the evidence feel like part of what we are writing. We don't just want to throw the quote in there and have it stand by itself. That's going to feel awkward and it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. We want it to flow naturally with our writing, so we should introduce the quote. So let's take a look at an example here. After Jin explains what a transformer is, the herbalist's wife says it's easy to become anything you wish, so long as you're willing to forfeit your soul. So the actual quote is, it's easy to become anything you wish so long as you're willing to forfeit your soul. However, what happens around that is what I kind of summarized there. So kind of summarizing what is happening at a point in a story, summarizing the context of a story can be a very good way to introduce the quote. We use our own words, where I say, after Jin explains what a transformer is, the herbalist's wife says, and then we add in the quote, right? So right there, that's kind of introducing our quote, using our own words, and really, you're making it one single sentence. You're making it one single sentence. Next, we have C, which is cite. So we provide an appropriate MLA parenthetical citation for all quotes. Now, that's important for any time we're writing an essay. We always have to cite our sources. So in this case, at the end of what I just wrote, after Jin explains what a transformer is, the herbalist's wife says it's easy to become anything you wish so long as you're willing to forfeit your soul. After the quotations on Seoul, I put a parentheses, the last name of my author, and the page number I found that quote on. In this case, the last name is Yang, and the page number is 29. Then I put a parentheses, and then I put a period. Now, this is very important to note. The period ending the sentence doesn't actually go inside of the quotation mark. It goes at the end of the parenthetical citation. Now, you remember that's a parenthetical because we use parentheses. Right? So it goes at the end of the final parenthesis there. So that is citing it right there. That is very, very crucial. Citing sources is how you avoid plagiarism. Right? Because if you're just passing stuff off as your own work without citing your sources, it makes it look like you just stole this, right? But if you are crediting who wrote it, that shows that you're giving proper respect and credit to the original author, and that's good. That's how part of how we get around plagiarism. Last E, we have to explain. So we explain why we selected the quote that we did. We provide analysis that ties the quote back to our main idea or topic sentence. So this is when we're basically commenting on the evidence in order to incorporate it into the argument that we were making. We've talked about analysis before. Analysis is when we look deeply into something, when we read deep into it. So when we are analyzing a piece of literature, we are basically adding commentary to it. We're going beyond the surface level and talking about what it actually means. That requires us to do a little bit of thinking and to use our own words. So it might look something like this. Later in the novel, Jin is able to achieve his dream of being a transformer when he transforms into Danny. He is only able to do this by forfeiting part of his soul. That part of his soul that he sacrifices is his Chinese heritage. So that is an explanation of the quote that I selected. Now, we then, step 3, we need to put in a concluding sentence. So something that's going to kind of wrap the paragraph up. So ultimately, when we wrap it up, it's going to tie it back to the thesis statement. So here's an example concluding sentence. This illustrates that Jean Yang was intentionally using the transformer toy as both a tool for foreshadowing and a symbol for transformation. So we can assume that with this essay I'm writing that my thesis is clearly about the transformer as a toy, as a symbol, as foreshadowing and whatnot. So final product, we get this paragraph. In American-born Chinese, Jean Yang uses the symbol of a transformer toy to foreshadow the recurring motif of transformation in the novel. After Jin explains what a transformer is, the herbalist's wife says it's easy to become anything you wish so long as you're willing to forfeit your soul, citation Yang, page 29. Later in the novel, Jin is able to achieve his dream of being a transformer when he transforms into Danny. He is only able to do this by forfeiting part of his soul. The part that he sacrifices is his Chinese heritage. This illustrates that Jean Yang was intentionally using the transformer toys both as a tool for foreshadowing and a symbol for transformation. If we look here, I've highlighted all the different parts of the paragraph, and you'll see every single word here is highlighted, meaning all of this is essential to the paragraph itself. In pink, we have the topic sentence. In red, we have the introduction and the quote itself. In dark green, we have the citation. In dark blue, we have the analysis. And in lime green, we have the concluding sentence. No words are left unhighlighted. That means that all of these words are crucial. And really, that is what your writing should be. Every single word should be crucial to it. In other words, if you were to take parts of the sentences out, it would crumble, it would fall apart. So you don't want to waste words, right, when you're writing a paragraph. But by following this 3-step process, so 1, a topic sentence, 2, using the ICE method, and 3, a concluding sentence, you're going to put together a good, strong paragraph that stays on target and ties back to your thesis statement. And of course, that is the goal. So, you are going to work on a planning guide, which you'll see in Schoology beneath this video. And once you're done with that, you're going to begin working on the body paragraphs of your essay. Now, you might be wondering, why are we starting with the body paragraphs? Why aren't we starting with the introductory paragraph? We're going to get to that later in the week. It almost seems counterintuitive, but it's actually a lot better if we tend to not write the introduction paragraph until near the end of the essay. That's because the essay, as we are writing it, hasn't really been formed yet, and the introduction is going to kind of preview the essay as a whole, so we can't really do that until we know what the rest of the essay is going to look like. But we'll talk about writing introductions and writing conclusions later in the week. So, you're going to work on the body paragraphs after you finish the planning guide. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I'll see you later.